Hello, everyone. Welcome to Follow Everton. Let's bring in Night Punditry Duo. We have Dan the Man and Andy Mabbs, who hasn't got his camera on. Mabbs, have you not got a camera? Where's he gone? Don't know where he's gone. How are you doing, How are you doing, Dan?
Yeah, I've just got my new CP hat and goggles on. Just bought them. Cost me $2,000. What do you think?
What are they for?
Just made them myself. CP's quite expensive. Get your sunglasses. Get your hat. Make your own CP. No, I'm not too bad, mate. I'm not too bad. I'm ready for this, to be fair. I was just walking down the street to the shop and thinking about what I'm going to say on this. And I'm ready for it. Let's have a nice conversation about Everton, because I feel there's bits and bobs to talk about, definitely.
Yeah, great. I'm sorry I'm not on the laptop. It was completely dead, and I had some technical difficulties with it before and on the last stream. So just for the benefits of this stream, whilst we're in the sort of mock studio, it'll be from the phone today. So I hope you can all hear clearly. Good evening to everyone who's just joining. Just read a few names. People who've said hello. Richo, Kevin, Luke, Chef, of course, a channel member who's not on the stream, but will be back tomorrow for the match reaction. Wonderless, Paul, Peter, etc., etc. So we're here to talk about Everton versus Leicester. A game, unfortunately, I'm not going to be at, annoyingly, but I will watch it. I've had to sell my ticket due to work purposes. The change in the fixture time was a bit annoying, but someone else will benefit from sitting in my seat, and I'll still watch it. And with great excitement and anticipation. It is the last game before the World Cup break. Dan, it's important to leave Goodison Park and set their tone, really, and leave on a high, I think, really, before the World Cup, isn't it? Important.
Yeah, it's very important, like you say, the way you finish, because it just sets a high for when you start again. But also with how close the table is at the minute as well, it's also important in that way, because 3 points is massive at the minute with the table being close from the Europa League to the bottom four, isn't it? So it is important. But I do feel Leicester is a harder game than our last game. That's one thing I will say. I'm more scared of Leicester than Fulham.
Yeah.
And I know Fulham have been playing better, but Leicester have just picked up, haven't they, Ryan? They are, I don't think they're a crap team. I think they're a good team.
Ironically, I think they've got some big name players, and I think they've just been struggling through other reasons necessarily. I think they're going to face they're going to be a tough opposition tomorrow, as they always tend to be. Mabsy, Leicester becoming Goodison, they'll be looking up, won't they? They won't be looking down. They'll be thinking, if we get 3 points on Everton here, we can get back in with that mix.
Just typical Everton, isn't it? Having to get them when they're hitting the start to hit the form. Just let you know that I am trying to get on video. I'm just trying to charge my iPad, so it's dead. So as soon as my iPad charges, I'll switch over.
Okay.
So, but I will come on. But yeah, no, it's just typical Everton, isn't it? Hitting them when they're starting to come on form. So yeah, but it's as Dan said, it's imperative to end this half of the season at home, obviously, because we've got 2 more games. Got Bournemouth twice, but it's imperative that we do, and go out of Goodison on a high, and we'll then go ready to go Boxing Day for Wolves.
I think I personally would prefer. I'd like 3 points against Leicester. I'm not so bothered about the cup game, if I'm being honest. I think the game against Bournemouth, 3 points, or at least not lose. And if we can get 4 points off this next, sort of 2 fixtures, I think we'd all sit quite comfortable and happy. Obviously, then you're coming back in for the Wolves game, I think, at Goodison Park on Boxing Day. And then the January transfer window is only a few days away from then. And you look at this and thinking, we're at the limits down where we could be without recruitment in January. And when I mean recruitment, I mean goal-scoring midfielders, 10 to 12 goals from midfield. Maybe another winger who's going to chip in and score a lot more goals. So you'd say we're at the limit of where we can achieve this season, really lower mid-table at best. Or do you think if we can put a run together, we could go up the table, Dan? Because you did say that it's tight and there's only maybe 1 point between each place.
Yeah, like I say, I thought that was. I said that about last game though. Like that was massive on us. If we wanted to push in and be a Europa League team, then beating Fulham was a big thing. If you're going to settle with a draw, for me, then you're probably settling to be mid-table. Again, you're happy being a mid-table team. I really do think when I look back at that Fulham game, watching the chances that we had, you've got to be taking 3 points there if you're going to be pushing Europa League chance.
You know what, Dan? I do disagree on a certain point now with regards to, we played shocking, but let's take some positives out the game. The end of the day, we were solid at the back. Obviously, the final third, this is where we're suffering at the moment. But anyway, game, I mean, I always remember a few seasons ago, coming from Fulham, walking away after getting battered by them and, losing. So, anyway game, really, to me, a point isn't a bad thing. You know what I mean? It's not like, as I say, I think we as Evertonians, we demand better. But, I don't think it was the end of the world getting a point.
I agree with you. I just think that, like you said, a point isn't bad, but if you're going to push for Europa League, then maybe we've got to be a team that gets more than a point from that game. Not saying we can't get Europa League, but I just think, like you say, Mabbs, you've got to think back last season. We went away and we got battered many a times, and we've gone away and we haven't got battered. So it is an improvement, but on the Europa League thing, for me, you've got to be beating teams like Fulham if you're going to push for that Europa League. And that's the difference.
You've also got to look at the way that the game was reffed. Again, disgusting, vile tackle by Mitrovic. If that was an Everton player, he would have been straight off, right?
I think we got to be cautious here to not get sidetracked just for the benefits of time. But
got to fit it all in.
We can all argue. I think we can all agree. Actually, we were quite lucky to get a point at Fulham at the end of the day. They were pretty much all over us, and I think you can't argue with the point away from home. And what you said, Dan, about pushing for Europa League, we're not there because I think we're harder to beat. We're more resilient, but we haven't got that final third quality. If you compare the sort of attacking options we've got now with maybe even over the past 10 years, it's nowhere near as the level, really. Damari Gray, Anthony Gordon, Calvert-Lewin, he's not the Calvert-Lewin of Ancelotti era at the moment. So it concerns me. I just think January, it's quite good actually that we've only got the Bournemouth game, this game and the Wolves game. And then in January, hopefully we can bring in players like Kudus and Mudryk. I'm not saying we're going to get either of those two. Yeah.
Is it New Year's Day?
Yeah. I think we've got the tools. I think we've got the tools. I just think we need to step it up, Ryan.
I don't think we've got the tools. I don't think we've got. I read about an interview. I'm cautious about getting too sidetracked here, but Damari Gray, I read the interview about him on The Athletic, and I just thought his mentality, he's talking about struggles in his life and at Leverkusen and at Leicester, and it's like you're putting a lot of eggs in at a player that hasn't really delivered, hasn't had the consistency. Another player in Anthony Gordon, who's, for me, he scored 3 goals this season, but in a lot of games, I thought he's been completely anonymous. He had his best game against Palace, but he was anonymous in some of the other games completely. And Dwight McNeil, who, apart from the 2 goals, I don't think he does an awful lot. So you're putting a lot of eggs in the basket. I'd argue we don't have the players. I think we are a team that can shut up shop and try and nick a goal. And I think that's going to be the way forward until we can get the recruits. And I think expectation is lower mid-table at the moment. The one thing we will talk about in a moment in more detail is just positional changes and formations, because I look at someone like Amadou Onana. I actually think I'd rather have him as the CDM, get Idrissa Gueye out the team, who's not cutting it for me. Onana, defensive midfielder. Because I think there's 3 midfielders and they're all doing the same job. And I think we need to get another attacker in there in these home games. So we'll come to that in a moment. Dan, then Frank Lampard's press conference ahead of Leicester talks about injured, having 20 players, his best 20 players available for the first time since becoming a manager. Ben Godfrey, Yerry Mina back available. He touched on some of the stuff in Qatar. He wouldn't really be drawn on Dele Alli. The thoughts on Dele Alli. He wouldn't be drawn too much on the Qatar. He's very politically correct, isn't he, Frank Lampard? And he plays it quite safe in the interviews. What did you make of his press conference today? Is there anything you can pick up on that you like to bring in for the preview?
Just as always, bang on in it, fully fit team. The question that he got asked about the defence, set pieces and stuff like that, was still being bad at set pieces. I think the press guy completely got wrong. Did you hear that part?
Yeah.
He completely got that wrong, because I think we're absolutely a million times better at defending set pieces now this season. I don't think that's a problem at all. It's just normal press conference, wasn't it? Lampard saying all the right answers. Players fit. That is the big thing, though, right? And I don't know. I've tweeted about this a couple of times today. Players are fit. I'm confused on where they get in. I'm confused on how we play them or what we do with some of these players now. That's something that really does confuse me, because you've got a fully fit Ben Godfrey there now. You've got a Holgate that's fully fit, and Amina that obviously we know he's biscuits, but at the end of the day, if he's fully fit, he's a good player. How do these get into this back four? Do we change the back four to the three centre backs and the wing backs? Like, that's how it's got me thinking at the minute when I've seen that interview. Like, generally, people say a good headache, but it gives me a headache, and like, I generally don't know what team is our best team. How do you feel about that?
He said Patterson was fit to start as well.
Dave Patterson as well, yeah.
And you did allude there to the fact we've got 6 central defenders fit, and a separate conversation again in greater detail. But at least 2 of them have got to be moved on, because for me that would be Holgate and Yerry Mina. As much as I don't think Michael Keane is good enough for us, I think he at least he can stay fit and be an option. There's no point having Yerry Mina fit for 3 games a year on £125,000 a week. So there's some debate over the centre. None of them really. I wouldn't be tempted to change any of them. The only thing I would think of, perhaps in some games moving forward, Ben Godfrey would be quite useful. Just allow us to squeeze up the pitch a lot higher, because he's got that recovery pace. I think sometimes we have talk. We're like the. Would you agree with this, Mabbsy? We're a little bit. Our biggest strength there is actually our biggest weakness. You know, the 2 centre backs are quite slow. They have to be kind of 18 yards deeper than you'd like. It makes it quite difficult to squeeze up and get players forward. Certainly in some of those games, I think we felt that against Fulham.
Yeah. I mean, as I say, I think you are right with Yerry Mina. He's very talented, but at the end of the day, you know, he's a luxury item that we can't afford. Hopefully, you can move him on, because he doesn't play. Only plays when he's 100%. Now, that's not the sort of Everton play that we need. Yeah, I think Holgate, to me, doesn't cut the mustard. And you know what? I can't wait to see. Hopefully Godfrey does start. Hopefully Patterson starts over Coleman, and stuff like that. So, you know, I can't wait to see Godfrey back, to be honest with you.
A lot disagree there, don't you? A lot do. Like, I'm 50-50 on Holgate. I'm kind of coming from where you're coming from, but I think a big percentage is saying Holgate's good under Lampard, and they're happy to use him in this squad, because he did play in this squad at the start of the season with a back 3, didn't he? With 2 centre backs.
Holgate's nowhere near good enough. He's another. I mean, we've been watching him for what, 6 years. I can't tell if he's a good centre back or a decent right back. To be honest, the only one out of that lot that I think's got a future long term is Ben Godfrey, because I think he's got the athleticism and he's got the. The thing is, though, you watch him and he can't head a ball. So it's a difficult one where I actually would kind of put him at left back, but then Mikalenko does not put a foot wrong in the last game.
The thing is though, Ryan, if I'm the same as you, I still think sometimes I think move him on, but if we pick up injuries, like Cody's playing for England in the World Cup, probably, if we pick up injuries with Cody and Tarkowski, we're going to need Holgate.
I don't think you can have 6 central defenders and not be in Europe. We're a bit top heavy in that area, and I think we need to cut the wage bill and bring in the forwards. Just on this game, obviously, which is the most important thing here. Leicester obviously got a rhythmic passing team. Brendan Rodgers has been under huge pressure, but seems to be picking up a couple of results. I think the Man City one was okay, but they were very, very defensive and got done off the Kevin De Bruyne free kick. I don't think they're going to be sky high in confidence, and I just want to see Everton get at them. It's a Saturday night under the lights. You know, I think we would be favourites to win this, and I think it's imperative we do win. Just on the team, then, Dan, is there any temptation to change anything about it? I mean, you've got Blue Stew saying, "Sorry, here, that's the wrong one." He'd like to see Garner get a start, and obviously Kevin is agreeing there, and I think that's something a lot of people share the sentiment of. would you be tempted then to make changes? Because I did think the Fulham game was a little bit stale and a little bit too safe from Lampard.
It's the same as the other game that we played, though, isn't it? I think they just need to kick up the backside and told to play better. I know you say you're not big on Gray and Gordon, but the fact is they can play a lot better than what they did, and that's what they need to do. Otherwise, McNeil, Mopé waiting to get in. And it's the same with you don't. I hate this. Like if this competition in our team, it's healthy. It is good. Like if Gordon doesn't have a good game, you can pull him off 50th minute, half time, and say step your game up, recharge your batteries, and bring someone else in. It doesn't mean you're pulling Gordon off and saying he's shit and he's not good enough. Rotation is good, and that's what we need to start doing: is rotating players to keep the. This is why there's a 5 sub rule now, is to keep the energy levels up, because with how much Gordon and Gray have been tracking back, it lessens their energy for attacking. So maybe we do need to. What do you think on Lampard's subs? Because that's a big thing for me as well. He needs to start making his subs a lot earlier. If a player isn't cutting it, bring him off and let him try again next game. That's what we need to do.
Well, for me, I don't like the fact we've got 3 midfielders. As much as I like all 3 of them, I think they're all doing the same thing. Or
yeah, but that's you need to push your way up then, don't you, Ryan?
Yeah. So, but on that basis, then I don't think they do enough. Because you're talking about Gordon and Gray getting back and doing a lot of their work defensively, good and all being well. But actually, if you look at the best sides that play a 4-3-3, the midfielders cover for the wingers to actually allow them to go forward and do stuff, and the fullbacks actually get forward. And
that's the point, Ryan. That's your point. It's the fullbacks getting forward that is the point, because with Coleman playing right back, we don't bomb it up. And if it's always a battle of the fullbacks, and if the opposition win, like they did last game, if the opposition win, then our wingers are tracking back to help our right back and left back. If our fullbacks push up and just go for it like they did when Patterson was playing, then you've got a chance. Ryan has gone. There he is. Come back. Yeah, no, but I'm just saying it's a battle of the fullbacks always. If your right back and left back pushes up, that's why I'm thinking here we need to play Patterson, not Coleman. But I love Coleman to pieces, but I think Patterson, it's risky when they do push up, but you've got more chance of scoring. So Patterson and Mikalenko need to push up and then say to Gray and Gordon, cut in. Get close to Calvert-Lewin. Get in the box. Cause a havoc. Be dangerous around Calvert-Lewin. And then there'll be more trouble then. There'll be more threat. But like I say, you need your right back and your left back to push up, because if they're sitting back, that's not how football is nowadays. Your right back and left back have to attack for me.
Well, I think we've been guilty of a few dysfunctional things. I mean, you look at some of the games we've had this season, Gordon and Gray only coming towards the ball with their back to goal, tightly marked, impossible to have an impact there. And then if your fullbacks don't run beyond them or offer any contribution going forward, you have to, because they take away the opposition player. They create space for your wingers to be more in a 1v1 situation. If you actually look at a lot of the time, Gordon and Gray, they're very effective, but they always seem to have 2 players to beat. The opposition winger and the fullback, because really we do play quite a flat back 4 in a lot of the games. Some might disagree with me, but I would definitely bring in Patterson for this game, and he was really poor, I thought, for most of his cameo appearance against Fulham. But he's only going to get match fit playing the game. But at the same time, I do think Lampard will play it safe. I don't think he'll make changes again. I would like to see James Garner involved. I don't think Idrissa Gueye is having the best of time.
What did you think of Gueye coming out and him saying that he was always going to come back to Everton? Everton's his home. It doesn't matter if Everton's at the top of the league or the bottom of the league. He was always going to come back to Everton. And you've got to realise he is playing with different players, Ryan. He hasn't been good, I admit, but I definitely think he is a good player. It's wrong to think that he's for me to think that he's not good enough, because he's played PSG. I mean for me to think that, not for you. Like if I was to drop him, do you know what I mean though? If I was to drop him one again,
because I think Onana can do what he can do. Onana's skills are tackling. I actually thought the purpose of putting Amadou Onana in midfield alongside the 2 of them was so that he could actually break through the lines, get into the box and score. But he's not really doing that. Onana plays it quite safe, and I think his best skill set at the moment is tackling and breaking up play. So why do we need 2 sort of defensive midfielders in there? I think we're short of attacking options. We've got 2 fullbacks that are not going forward, and then we've got 3 midfielders and Calvert-Lewin isolated up top on his own. So there's a temptation to change it. I know Jeff said in the comments about Garner for Garner, Patterson back in, and Gray and Gordon, and bringing McNeil. I think this is a valid point. McNeil could come in for Anthony Gordon, but I think Gordon seems to do okay in these sorts of fixtures. Leicester, in terms of what they can offer, though, they move the ball quickly. They pass it from side to side. They can pick holes in you, as Kevin has alluded to here. James Maddison is a very effective player. Yuri Tillemans in there as well. Jamie Vardy's still a threat even at 35. They've got fullbacks that do get forward. I think the keeper's a bit poor. I'd like to see us actually test the goalkeeper now. Kasper Schmeichel's gone, and his replacement for me doesn't look that good. So
I think the defenders struggle for speed, don't they? And that's why I feel Gordon and Gray are going to be getting a chance again, because if you think of Evans and the defenders that they've got, you would say the weakness is speed. And the only fast players that we've got is Gray and Gordon, and that's the reason you do see Gray and Gordon get ahead of McNeil. That's the reason. If McNeil had the speed, he'd probably be first option, but we ain't got no speed other than Gray and Gordon.
No, and I think we are looking in the market now for January for wide players who score and have got pace.
Yeah, that's what
cross the ball, because we've got two wingers that have got pace that can't cross the ball, and then we've got another one with no pace that can cross the ball. So we haven't really got the complete package, in terms of options there. And I think Leon Osman said today in an interview I read earlier that we need to got players that can score 10 to 12 goals from midfield. We had Sigurdsson, James Rodriguez, Richarlison, who wasn't really a striker. He ultimately was a wide player for most of his career, or a second striker. So we need more goals from around the team. Otherwise, I think we're never going to progress. I don't think we're that threatening. I don't think we look that good against Fulham going forward. We didn't look good against Spurs going forward. We didn't look good against United. There's been a lot of games where we've been poor going forward, but I think this is a game we will win. As I said before the Palace game, I think this is a similar game. I think we will we will beat them. But I think they are a very strong side, Leicester, actually, on paper. We just need to catch them on a bit of a bad day. John is saying here, Onana plays it too safe. I think he agrees with me.
Takes a while for that midfield to click.
So maybe I'm wrong there, but I think he's been vilified in some of the previous fixtures. Stu is saying we'll start with the same team and we'll make changes probably quite late in the day. So are you both sticking with the same team then?
No, I think Coleman off for Patterson. Definitely. I think. I think I'd probably stick with the team in a way, but obviously put Patterson on.
I'm the same. I'm the same. I think you've got to make the Coleman change. The reason being as well, fact is Coleman wasn't as good, and Barnes is a danger on that side. Don't you think, Ryan? Barnes on Coleman could be.
The thing with Patterson is he dives in a bit rash and gets done sometimes a bit too easily. But I do think overall, I think once he's back up to speed, I think he's the better option long term. We need the youngsters that are going to be here long term to be in the team. I think Lampard will play it safe, but hand on heart, I would like to see some changes. I don't really know tactically how I'd approach that with the midfield, because Leicester are very strong in midfield. I think that's why he would go with the three. Although there could be some temptation maybe to bring in Neil Maupay maybe for Garner and just go for it and because I think the crowd's going to be massively up for it. And I think when you've got the crowd really, behind you, I think you can play that sort of front foot football. I think it's easier to get away with it and not be.
Do you think he's that brave?
No, I think he's very cool.
to play 4-4-2 and two centre midfielders. I don't think Lampard's going to be that brave, because he
should. I think he's got the players to do it.
Yeah,
I think he's got midfielders with the engine in there, and I think if you can't do it there, and you won't, but it might not be the right option. We'll just have to trust him. Can I get your predictions then?
Yeah, you want to go first, Mabbsy?
Yeah, I think we'll win 2-1.
Yeah, I think that's a decent shout there. Dan?
I'm thinking 2-0. 2-0. I just think we're defending well. I can't see that Vardy's done now, isn't he? And they ain't got Daka. They are good. They're very, very good attacking, but I think we're very good at defending. I think 2-0. I don't know why, but 2-0 I'm going to go with.
The thing that I worry about is maybe just our lack of legs and behind a little bit of the pace they've got. But I think Leicester have shown they're beatable this season. I think we're at home. I think we're good at home. We play on the front foot. We press. And we have got the energy. I think we'll beat Leicester. And Kevin's saying 2-1. Let us know in the comments what you think it will be. And make sure you like and subscribe. I'm sure everyone here watching now is a regular viewer. Tomorrow's stream, Mabbsy's fucked off already. Tomorrow's stream, Dan, Stevie, and Jeff will be here to react to Everton's 2-1 victory against Leicester. Just bringing Mabbsy back in. Oh, there he is. He's
finding my iPad, Kevin. I told you to come on the screen.
So, some other things I want to talk about. You can obviously refer back to the Leicester game. We're not completely done. But the thing is, there isn't an awful lot to say other than Lampard's probably going to go with the same team. Patterson might start. And Leicester have been rubbish, but are coming good. And we need to score more goals. So, how can we do that? I think we need to get more players in the box, play on the front foot, use the crowd to our advantage, and just completely control the game. Dan's in his element here. Right, so...
Don't get you, Dan.
Yeah, I know, I don't get myself. By the way, I actually dyed my hair blonde like Richarlison, even though he don't play for us, just that style I'm basically saying. And it didn't suit me, so I shaved it off again. So back to square one, but it will grow again. Don't worry.
How long does that take you to grow?
It was growing, but then I dyed it blonde like an idiot and thought I'd look good, but turns out that goldy blonde look doesn't suit me. It made me look
purple,
like a light bulb, basically. I look like a big light bulb with the yellow hair.
You should have left it down. You should have left it blonde and let it grow out. So, a couple of things in other news that might be slightly more interesting than talking about this game tomorrow. Iwobi said that he was effectively being pushed out the club in January, and that he was determined to stay and fight for his place. Rafa basically was trying to get him out. The fans were on his back. You know, he used to go off to Manchester to play football with his mates, probably at goals or something like that, and have a kick about with his hat on and disguise. It's glad that he stayed, but Mabbsy, I know you commented on this on Facebook, and I agree with you. They were offering him a 5-year contract.
Yeah,
on the back of six good months. Really?
I don't. It's a year, isn't it? Because 6 months, it's a year since Lampard's been here. Surely, is it nearly a year? Nearly a year. Because towards the end of the transfer window last January.
Yeah.
So we'll talk about 11 months. Okay, so
11 months.
He has improved a lot. Okay, absolutely. Do I think he deserves a new contract? Absolutely, he does deserve a new contract. Do I think he deserves 5 years? To me, 5 years is a risk. And I think
that's mad.
What?
That's mad 5 years, isn't it? Like, yeah, I completely agree with it. It's stupid, that is, for me, because it's like you say, I do think he's playing better, but finally he's doing what he's supposed to have done when we signed him.
Exactly. You know what, right? So let's look at this. I reckon you give him a 2 year with an option to extend to 3, right?
Extension.
What?
Because I think he's still got 2 years on his contract anyway.
2 seasons. And Everton has an option to extend it by another year.
He's not going to want that. Apparently, there's interest from other clubs. I think he's still got,
because he's been quite good, but 5 years. It's such a gamble with like Iwobi. He's been brilliant. Do not get me wrong, right? Absolutely, he's been brilliant. But it's the other woeful seasons we've had with him that kind of worry me and think, well, that's my concern. And we're stuck with him.
Everyone's on the cloud 9 with Iwobi, and I think he is good enough now, and I do think he's good, and finally he's playing good. But fact is, just because you're on the cloud 9, we don't need to go frigging offering players 5-year contracts like we did frigging Michael Keane. Yeah. At the end of the day, if he's got, I don't know how long he's got, but if he's got a year or 2 years on his contract, and he's playing well, and he wants to stay, he shouldn't be haggling big contracts with us at the end, because he's just kind of taking advantage of us while he's playing well. You've got to play well for longer. You've got to be banging goals in left, right, and centre in that attacking midfield position to be acting the big I am. I think just keep doing what you're doing, Iwobi. You're playing well.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't be offering... If he's got 2 years on his contract, for me, I wouldn't be offering him another contract. Everton will, but generally, if it's committed,
I think a 3+1 new contract would be fine. I think we've gone past the point where we're offering 5-year contracts. So you can see how volatile some of these players are, and if he's been underwhelming before, there's nothing to say that he's now not going to return to that. We saw that with Michael Keane. We had a good period from Michael Keane. We gave him a 5-year contract, and last season he was, he was like a ship that had a puncture and sinking. It was like
punctures.
A hole in the ship, and it was sinking,
Right.
and he was like the main. He was the person. I don't know. This is a terrible.
Well, I'm not saying Iwobi, but worst case scenario, if he didn't sign his new contract, and another team come and brought Iwobi, what the form is in for 30 million that we paid for him, it's not like the worst case scenario in the world.
He's turned up for 6 months because he's out of contract at the end of next season.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Just
in the shop window, isn't it?
No, but to be fair, you played him as a winger, and he's got no pace. And he can't cross a ball, and he doesn't score goals. You play him as a central midfielder, where he's got his engine and his intelligence and his off-the-ball movement and skill. I think you're seeing the best out of him. So that says a lot about managers, which brings me on to the next conversation. Sam Allardyce and Duncan Ferguson did an interview with on a YouTube channel. We're not going to promote them because we're not advertising them. We're not sponsored by them. But on the YouTube channel, it was quite interesting. They were talking about the World Cup and stuff, but I'd say a large portion of the interview was aimed towards Allardyce and Ferguson. There's clearly some sort of friendship going on there. And Duncan Ferguson said that Sam Allardyce was very unlucky to lose his job. He shouldn't have lost his job. He should not have lost his job. And the players loved him, and he was really straight talking and easy to work with, and they proved it. So, Mabbs, what do you make of Duncan Ferguson's comments?
Shocked, to be honest with you. It was the worst football we've seen at Goodison Park for a long time.
He said the politics of the club was the reason he was fired.
Well, it wasn't. It wasn't, because at the end of the day, it was always going to be brought in for 6 months. That was it, because that's what they wanted. It was when he said Allardyce was shocked, he was offered a 6-month contract, and then they gave him an extra year just to get him right. And you know what? The football was shit. Yeah, absolutely. And I'm going to sound controversial here, but you know what? Okay, yeah, he saved us. There, as I said it. Did I want to see that again? No, he didn't. Did I want to see that for another season? No, he didn't. At the end of the day, I think people were refusing to renew the season tickets.
No, the football was garbage and the players were.
Yeah.
Dan...
I actually remember the club having to extend the deadline because people hadn't renewed the tickets because he was still in charge. So I think, as I say, it was a disaster after he left. Appointment, obviously, when we go there. But do I think he should have stayed in charge? No.
Dan, thanks, Mabbs. The two of them were making a bit of a mockery on the interview. I definitely think it's worth watching.
I don't think it's a surprise at all. I don't think
the two of them were having a joke about how many managers Everton had. That Sam Allardyce was going, there was Ronald and Duncan was having a giggle, and then there was Marco. He described him as the Portuguese fella at Fulham, like he didn't know that he was the guy who he lost his job to. And then they omitted Carlo Ancelotti from that list, and which was quite hilarious. But Duncan said that he left because he asked for the job till the end of last season and didn't get it, and it kind of all come back to the politics of the club. And Sam Allardyce was kind of saying, looking directly at the camera, going, "Someone take a chance on Dunk, give him a job," and they were kind of up each other's arse, I thought, really.
They always have been, Ryan. They always have been. If you remember, I remember listening to a long time ago. Do you know when Allardyce was manager? Duncan Ferguson went on Toffee TV, and Duncan Ferguson said on that he couldn't believe that the fans was giving Sam Allardyce stick when Everton was doing so well. And he did this big thing on the Toffee TV saying that he really thinks Allardyce is good. And the fans shouldn't have gone against him when he was winning games and doing so well. So he was very close to him then, and he stayed close to him clearly as his main contact. And it's that interview was done to get Duncan Ferguson a job for me. Like you say, come and get me. I'm Duncan Ferguson. That's what it is. That's what I think the interview was done for.
It wasn't that big of an interview. It wasn't exactly on a major channel, but it just
it's a lot of stuff we already knew.
I think
a lot of stuff we already knew.
With regards to look, I think that he wasn't given the chance at Everton, which maybe he should have been. I don't know, because maybe the job was too big for him. As his first full-time job. So I don't know on that one.
I think Duncan Ferguson's got to go.
He's been a great servant to Everton, and but I felt like he should have gone when Carlo went, in a way, not sacked, because Carlo offered them a job, didn't he? And I think
I'm going to come to that now.
What?
I'm going to come to that now, actually.
So
he said that for the benefit of everyone watching. He said Duncan Ferguson said 3 weeks ago Ancelotti invited him to Madrid to watch a training session, and he stayed in Carlo's house for the time. And then the next day, Carlo went to get that big manager of the best manager in the world award and all this. And he's very close with him and said he's a brilliant tactician, etc. Like the big man Sam. Like he kind of compared him to Allardyce.
Wow.
Said, players loved him, blah blah blah. I just thought it was quite an interesting interview that I watched earlier today between the two of them, and they clearly like Everton. Duncan Ferguson obviously loves the club, but it was almost like satirical the way they were coming across with some of the comments. And
I think Duncan Ferguson's got to be. He's got to be in with people like Sam Allardyce. Duncan Ferguson's going to get to know as many people as he can in that business at the minute to get himself that managing job. And Carlo is the main man. I was just going to say, I think Duncan Ferguson, it'd be good in the Championship with a team that don't need to be that good tactically, but need to work hard, because I feel like Duncan Ferguson can really get a team working hard. But I think when he managed Everton that second time round, it didn't look like he had it tactically. It looked like he didn't know what to do tactically with us. He can get the passion up for one game.
In fairness, Dan, I didn't think Frank Lampard looked that brilliant tactically in some of the games towards the end of last season anyway, when we got tonked away at Spurs, etc., etc. And the reality was that the fans kept us up more than the manager, in my opinion. In fairness
to Everton, at the end of the day, they have stayed loyal to Dunk, right? So before we got he should not be named. We were looking at weren't we?
I can't remember now. Is it Sigurdsson or James?
What?
Oh, Rafa.
No.
You've blacklisted so many people. Just say it. We're shit.
We're talking about Benitez. But before Benitez got the job, we were looking at Nuno, weren't we?
Yeah.
Yeah, we were looking at Nuno, and I think we stayed because basically Nuno was about to sign, and he said, "Well, I want to bring my own people, and Dunk's got to go." And Everton said, "Well, no, Dunk's staying." So he either signed with Dunk, and then he walked away, and then took the Spurs job. Okay. So then, obviously, the ill-fated manager got the job, and then they brought Frank in, and I think there was an agreement there was going to be a transition to let Dunk leave at the end of the season. I think that was always going to be the plan when Lampard got it, but Lampard was like, "Well, we'll keep him until the end of the season." That's what I heard, and I think we have done a lot by the club, but at the end of the day, will we see Dunk back at Everton? Of course we will.
You'll be back in the stands. We've got Ian Clark here saying, really looking forward to going to the match tomorrow. After going to Aintree races first, 3-0. Come on, you Blues. Thank you, Ian.
Races on as well. Bloody hell.
You are subscribed. We've also got KFC delivery saying hello, which is kind of very odd, random.
We get it all the time. Sure. We don't mind. We get worse than KFC delivery.
Get bored, don't you, Dan?
Yeah. We get some random things on
today's stream. Make sure you like and subscribe if you haven't already. I'm Ryan, channel admin. We've got co-founder Andy Mabbs here and the one and only Dan. Dan, you're looking forward to doing the post-match tomorrow. this game, this Leicester game, you're coming into it. It's not like we can come and moan about. There's nothing really to moan about that much. There's no injuries to talk about. There's no major things. That's why we're talking about a load of nonsense. Is there anything else?
Just want us to. Like I said to you about the Fulham game, though. I know Mabbs said it's a good point and stuff, and it was a good point, but I want us to be a lot better than that. You know what I'm like. I want us to be. It was a good point. I agree with you, but fact is, I know what everyone, and I know, Ryan, you think some of these ain't good enough, but I know they can be a lot better. Every player's got to be better. And Gordon and Gray, they need to be more clinical. They need to really make teams pay for the chances that they give us. Because if you can guarantee, if we make a mistake, the ball ends up in the back of our net. So when we get chances against other teams, the ball's got to end up in the back of their net. That's simple. We've got to, and if our players ain't up to it, this is the other thing I will say. First of all, our players have got to be better. And second of all, if our players ain't having a good game, because they're not robots, sometimes they'll be heavy-legged or they just won't be having a good game, make a change. Sometimes Gordon might be just having a bad game. It happens. All gone a game. Make a change.
We haven't got...
Kevin Cross made the good comments.
You've got McNeil to change for him.
We haven't got a lot of players in those positions to make the changes. Actually,
McNeil.
The Fulham game, I think we made the substitutions. We actually brought no pay on James Garner, and I think we look more threatening with that. I don't know how much we'll go for it, but I think the best, we're going to get out of Iwobi is when we can actually maximise him and Onana and actually use them for their speed and energy. What's the point in having them in there if we can't actually play a little bit more expansive and reliable?
Take a risk though, Ryan. Like, say if our right winger Gray's on the right wing and he's not having a good game, put someone right back and say to Patterson, go right winger, bomb it up and get some crosses in the box. Like, just take risks, because I know you say we haven't got the players, but there's a lot of rotation. Patterson could play right wing if we wasn't doing it on the right wing, because Patterson used to be a right winger and he can put the crosses in and he can whip the ball in. McNeil can come left wing if the left winger's not doing it. Godfrey can play right back if we need him to play right back or left back, like you said.
This is exactly the point I'm making. Certain games Godfrey would be quite useful at left back, but there's no need to on the back of the Fulham performance, which was his best defensive performance. Although we do need more. You're talking about Gray and Gordon. You keep referring to those two. We need more goals from everyone. The fullbacks have got to score. None of our fullbacks have scored this season. The centre backs, only Cody's got one goal this season. Midfield, Iwobi, one goal. Onana hasn't scored. Garner hasn't scored. None of them have scored. And you got one goal from Gray, 3 from Gordon, and 1 from Calvert-Lewin, 1 from Mope. Not scoring enough goals. They've all got to do more. So let's not pinpoint it too wide.
You're right, because you look at James for Chelsea.
The two of them are best 1v1, running in behind and getting to the byline. We don't see that. We see them man-marked by 2 people, crouched out, shown inside, and not allowed to express themselves because they haven't got a full-back taking a defender away or through overloads. There's some comments here that are quite interesting. Just going to quickly run through these comments. Duncan's got all his badges. I believe he's got the Blue Peter badge, the Pokemon Gym Leader badge, and quite a few different badges that he's been collecting.
Loopy Loo.
Ian Clark saying he's talking about the races. Very interesting, Ian. Thank you so much. Johnson's blue. 7-1. Get your money on that.
If it loses, will you give me my money back? money back if we bet on it and you lose.
Jeff says if our forward players were consistently good, they wouldn't be at Everton. I think it's slightly unfair because I think Richarlison was consistent, goals and assists, and he was with us for a while. But I get what you're saying. I think Jeff thinks they're all bench players, and some people will definitely agree that we've got quite a few bench players who are starting too many games.
We're not far away from having a really, really good squad now, because if you're saying we've got that many defenders and we're overpacked in centre midfield, then if we get a winger and a striker, like, we have got a Europa League team. We've got a big squad. I'm not saying our team's good enough. But Ryan, you name to me another team in the Premier League that's got as many centre backs, and that we've got a big squad now. We didn't have last season was bringing Dobbin on, Branthwaite on, was bringing young kids on. We was buggered. Our bench was shit. Our bench now, whether you like the players or not, Ryan, is strong. It's got Godfrey on the bench, who is a good bench player.
We're not a charity collecting.
Garner's on the bench. You need a big squad, though, don't you? You need a big squad now. We learned that last season. We nearly went down because of injuries last season. Like, generally, injuries nearly took us down last season.
We're not a football Panini album where we've got to collect as many players as possible. We've got to have quality players. I look at the centre-backs and think, you know, I wouldn't trust Holgate to come into this team now.
I think a lot would, though. That's the thing. A lot would. If I tweeted that now, as on my Twitter, do you think Holgate is playing good under Lampard? They say yes, he'll be good with Tarkowski at the side. And another quick point, I wanted to make this when I was walking down the street thinking of it, is the reason we brought Tarkowski and Connor Cody in is so these young centre-backs that we've got, Godfrey, Holgate and Branthwaite, can learn from them too. You put them in front of you and say, right, this is how you be a good centre-back. Cody and Tarkowski, they are the perfect sculpture of a centre-back. They have everything. If you can't learn from them and be them in 3-4 years' time, when they've retired, who have they had to learn from them?
About Michael Keane's been here 5-6 years.
No, not Keane. I didn't mention Keane. Keane's shit anyway. Don't worry about him. But I'm saying with Godfrey, Branthwaite...
But Holgate's been there for time.
Oh, yeah. Holgate, I'm 50-50 on, but some people like him, so I've got to go with him. I don't know why, but I'm 50-50 on Holgate.
So far, I mean, a lot of these players, thankfully, this group of players are a lot likeable. And I agree with you, Dan. We're probably 3 or 4 players who can score goals away from being a top 20 team in the Premier League. But all I can
say, no, we ain't. Ryan, sometimes I'm with you though. I didn't like the way we was last game, so I'm a bit more negative. But you have been happy when we was playing well, so we can be better. I think we're not far away now.
I'm not concerned. I just
think we're close.
We are a bit toothless in some of the games, and I watch other Premier League teams. And I thought Fulham, you know, with Willian, he was like back in his prime Chelsea. You know, everywhere, cutting inside, going down the wing, crossing it in, shoot. I thought, what? You know, this is Fulham, and then you watch Brighton, and they're unbelievable. Brentford, solid in the game. There's no weak teams in this league. If you look at it from 1 to 20. There's no one who's adrift on 3 points like you've seen with Counties and Sheffield United. This is a strong league from probably 3 to 3 down to 20. There's not an awful lot between them. There seems to be 1 point between each place, and I don't think we're necessarily better or worse than anyone. I just think it's going to be who's the most consistent, and I think what we need to see probably down in these home games is more bravery, and we talked about that.
Yeah.
Or are we just going for steady Eddie? And I think we will finish on around 40 points this season if we continue the way we're going. This is an interesting one here. Blue Nose WKD Dublin. Anyone see the Wheelchair Rugby League? I had a bit of I've got a bit of an ear infection, and I woke up at 5 in the morning and I couldn't get back to sleep. And I woke up on the couch and BBC One is on in the background, and I find myself watching the Wheelchair Rugby League. And the French absolutely battered with the Welsh team. And I mean, it was like I think the score was 154 to the French team. And
did you watch it? You watched it then, yeah?
Yeah. 6 points.
Was it good?
6 points to the Welsh team. They've got these tags on their arms. Obviously, most of them are amputees in a wheelchair. They fall over out the wheelchair and the ref runs on and picks them up. It was quite entertaining, actually more entertaining than watching us, to be honest with you, sometimes. And the French, as WKD Dublin, Blue Nose KD Dublin's alluded to there, they were just literally running through the Welsh. It was like Andre Gomez and Sigurdsson and Tom Davis midfield trio, and they just literally walk through them. The Welsh were perilous.
I've never seen it. It's something I'll have to watch now. You made me want to see what it's like because I've never watched it, and I watch all my sports, but I wasn't up as late as you two with the toothache. You know what I mean?
We want to do a watch. People have demanded a watch along, so we're going to sort that.
Yeah.
Maybe Jan. I don't know where Jan Dalford. I think he's busy, but we'll be back tomorrow for Everton versus Leicester match reaction. Mabsy, thank you so much for joining.
Yeah, no worries.
Got you on, Mabsy. Nice to speak to you, Mabs, as always.
Yeah, you see, mate.
Any other business?
Just quick one on Bradley Moore.
Yeah, I was actually in this. Sorry.
Kevin Croft alluded to it before in the comments. Yeah. He said, how fast Bradley Moore's coming up.
Crazy, isn't it? Like generally,
it's absolutely crazy, but it's the steel work, and I can't on the concrete. I just can't wait. It just looks like they're putting the brickwork up, aren't they now? 700 boards, I think, of brickwork. It's going to be.
Once they start putting stuff up, it seems like literally you see a bit of a sculpture of something. Now you're seeing inside the stadium already, and where the pitch is going to be, and where all the seats are going to be, and you're like, wow, this is going to happen fast now.
Is providing brilliant content with the drones and stuff, and I believe that Everton have invested in 100 bags of topsoil and plant grass seed from B&M this week, and this batch of grass to be planted in the coming weeks. Hopefully the stadium be ready by 2092. So that's all from us today. We'll bring you some more. Mabbs is itchy to say something else.
Are we going to do a stadium special?
Only if you can go down
during the World Cup. We're going to do a stadium special because
only if it's down to the site and I can interview you with properly.
After we lock this off now, anyone, if you've got any ideas of what you want us to do over the World Cup, comment and tell us what you'd be interested on seeing, doing, or anything, because we'd still like to keep in touch with you because we've got regulars that come on all the time. We don't want to lose touch with you over the World Cup. So if you tell us what you want to do, we'll have a little talk in our Follow Everton group and see what we can do for you.
Yeah, I believe a few people are asking for an interview with Stephen Pienaar, but I don't think we've tried to get one with Stephen yet. So perhaps we should try and ask Stephen Pienaar.
Still trying.
It'll happen when he.
It'll
happen in its own time, I suppose. Jan's messaged someone that knows, so we'll see what happens with that.
Yeah.
I know. Bloody Andalf in with the crew.
Aye.
He is the celebrity of the group, isn't he? To be fair,
pretty much the chief poet and the slab.
To be fair though,
the A-lister.
Normally it's because obviously Jasmine's known on Twitter. My missus Yandalf's recognisable. Even Mabbsy to some extent. I've never ever been approached at the game, and then a couple of weeks ago at the match, I don't know whether it was Palace, but I was meeting someone to give away. I think my dad couldn't go to the match or something, and I was giving someone the ticket, and someone come up to me. I think it was Stu. Someone here called Stu, not Blue Stu. I think there was another Stu on here who said, "Ryan, follow Everton." I'm like, "Yeah." I was like, "Someone's finally spotted me."
So when I actually went to
that,
when I went to that Chelsea game with Jan and your brother, literally we had to stop every 5 minutes with Jan because someone was like, "Yeah, you're right, Jan. You're right, Yandolf. Oh, it's Yandolf the Viking. Oh, it's Jan." Every 5 minutes, I literally felt like I was with.
He's definitely an A-lister.
Yeah, I thought it's all over Everton website, everything, isn't
he? He needs to start dropping the name of the channel in his poems. And as we rise through the sun, as the sun falling down is the sun in the mornings, and we subscribe to Follow Everton. But he needs to mention it, or I think he's reluctant to kind of mix it in case he gets caught. And we have the chairman watching our videos. If you are watching, we like the work you did on Love Never Dies.
Ryan's never joked about you or anything, Bill Cam, right? You know what I mean? Just saying.
Absolutely. No impressions.
No impressions. It wasn't Ryan. It was just some other guy that hacked the channel. We've been very nice about you, Bill Cam, right? If you are listening.
Yeah, I saw that. No, some guy came on the other week.
Yeah.
Let's get him back.
Boys, it's Phil taking our boy again. They're taking him.
Now I know how you look when you talk like Bill Cameron.
Right, so we're going to wrap this up now before it gets
stupid. We'll keep it entertaining. We will keep it entertaining.
You saw it when I had face paint on, didn't you? The Halloween, the wig and all. I showed you it with the wig and the.
Yeah. We're driving in, and we're driving to the match where we last game.
Dan was the funniest when I watched it back because he leans in and starts looking and he's like, "Is that actually Ryan?"
Is that actually Ryan?
Yeah, but you can't do that. Like our subscribers, I care about our subscribers a lot, and they are all really nice. So if one of our subscribers was who you was dressed as, Ryan, I didn't want to rip how he looked, or do you know what I mean? I'm not going to call someone down and say you look like an idiot when that be the way he looks. So I didn't want to call it out at first. because
dear.
the blonde moustache is what did me. Like, I know you've got your moustache is brown. I know that. And when you put extra care in to get me there, you sprayed it blonde, and that's what got me. That's why I was looking. But it was funny.
I had contour on my nose, makeup.
It was funny with Jan as well, because Jan didn't know either, and Jan was like, obviously Jan's really respectable as well, and he's like, we do know this person. He has DM'd me. He is legit. It's not right. He didn't know either. It was funny. Oh, we do like to entertain on this channel, to be fair.
The whole point of actually that stream, we were meant to do it as a phone-in style, and I do think we revisit it post-match, but I'll explain to you now, and the audience can listen in. It was meant to be formatted. I didn't quite translate this well, but I think it was meant to be more like this, where one of you two turn your camera off. And Mabbs, he's a caller, and I'm hosting it, and I'm speaking, and it's just his audio, and it's like that was how it was meant to be, like a phone-in, like we were in a studio bringing these random people in off the street and getting their opinion. And at first, I was going to do, hello, it's Dorothy Perkins here.
Dorothy Perkins.
With Everton's performance.
Lucky we didn't do that then.
Yeah,
lucky
really
lucky we made you dress up. It wouldn't have been as funny if we didn't make you dress up. So by us not actually doing it as a blank screen, you had to actually put the clothes on and dress up quick. We kept you on your toes. Oh,
I do think we should revisit that. Unfortunately, a lot of the games are Saturdays, and I work Saturdays, and it's difficult to get on. But I definitely think, Dan, if it wasn't me, I think you'd be hilarious hosting these things and getting all these random people in. Phone-in style.
I want to do stuff on the channel. We'll definitely do stuff. I want to get more people on.
Anyone listening does want to come on, drop us a comment or something, because during the World Cup we are going to be doing stuff, and people like Hearted, and you're more than welcome to come on and have a chat with us, or whatever.
I was even thinking, I didn't say this in the group, the people dropping your comments what you think. I was thinking of doing something with the Everton kits. Do you know, I don't know the kits that well, but just doing an era of kits, because I know there's a lot of kit collectors and stuff like that out there, Everton kits. We're looking to just do anything that you lot are interested in to keep you busy on Everton over the World Cup. Yeah,
that's a good idea. I think the second thing, you'd have to show a little bit of discipline though. Maybe just have one or two people on like that, or one main person on after the match. Oh God, everyone's gone. After the match is on, and you have... And all you do, Dan, is post the StreamYard link on Twitter and say, if anyone come in, it's a phone, and just click this link. And then you can add them in, set up the hosting so you're in the centre and there's a panel of people, and just one by one, speak to them and bring them in and out. And I think that would be good.
What time's the kick-off in Australia?
Say again?
We've got 2 games in Australia, haven't we?
Celtic.
Are they going to be late? Obviously, they're going to be late ones. Do you know what kick-off times they're going to be?
I think one of them's at 3:45 in the morning.
Fuck that. Not a chance.
So, set your alarms now.
Not a chance.
Just before we shoot this off now, who's going to win the World Cup? Because I've just seen someone say he's betted $5,000 in the comments on, don't know if he's joking, on Brazil to win the World Cup. Who do you think is going to win the World Cup?
France, Brazil, Argentina, and
who do you think though, Ryan? You know your football. You're quite strict on your football standard.
Brazil or France, but I think Argentina could be very close there because it's Messi's final World Cup. I just don't think the teams that way. You look at Holland and Spain and Belgium and England, and I don't think any of those.
No, won't do much. I think probably Brazil. So.
Yeah. I think the semi-finalists are at 66-1 now at the moment. Last time I looked, for Argentina, Brazil, France, and I think it was Spain, but I can't remember who the 4th team was anyway. But yeah, bet responsibly.
Soon be here. It will soon be here.
Right.
Put $5,000 on 4-1 for Brazil.
That's crazy, isn't it? That's what I just said. It's crazy.
Wow.
If I had $5,000, I definitely wouldn't be able to put it on that. But good if you can. And I hope you win if you did. If that's true.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
nice.
4-1's not big odds, is it?
Dan, you do the honours?
Yeah. No, I'm letting you do the honours. I'm going to let you end it. No, I'm not. I'm letting you end it because I haven't got the thing on my screen today.
Well, I can't do it.
I can't end it. I haven't got the thing on my screen. Sorry. I have, but I'm letting you end it. I've got the thing on my screen, but I'm letting you end it.
Do you want to end it, Rob?
Nah, I had it. Have you ended it?
You end it.
End broadcast.